My name is Chris Toplak, and this is A View from the Top in support of my friends over at the Reaction Room Wrestling Podcast. This is normally where we discuss pro wrestling news and rumors, but this truly is A View from the Top because I was in Toronto, Ontario, Canada for nearly the entire Survivor Series weekend. That's actually the one show I did not catch live, but I was live and in person at the Air Canada Centre for NXT TakeOver Toronto and Monday Night Raw. Both shows did not disappoint. It was actually my first time taking in the NXT brand in person, and let me tell you, wow, surpassed expectations, and they were sky high. So I wanted to go over my thoughts on the card because it truly did deliver. Hopefully you had a chance to check it out. The opening match was one of the best matches of the night, by the way. Tye Dillinger taking on the glorious one, Bobby Roode, two fellow Canadians with the crowd equally really on both of their sides. Bobby Roode came out on top, but Tye Dillinger has really been built as this great underdog character when he finally wins the big one, whether it's a championship match or just against a top-name opponent. I believe wherever he is, no matter the arena, the roof will blow off the building. So he's being primed, in my humble opinion, for that underdog role where he's going to rise to the occasion. As for Bobby Roode, Triple H was already alluding to the fact that he may be ready to challenge for the NXT World Championship. A little bit more on that later on. The next match was the most disappointing match of the evening. It was the finale in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. It was weak. The crowd simply did not care about them. Here's the thing. TM61 is a very talented tag team, but I'm not invested in them, and neither are most fans. They're very athletic. They collaborate quite well, but again, they haven't done a great job of building up that tag team and giving us a reason to care about them. Authors of Pain have just been pushed as these monsters, but again, it's been rushed, and despite the fact they won, the crowd did not care whatsoever. There's even an awkward photo op with Triple H, William Regal, Dustin Rhodes. Everybody was just silent. They mostly were surprised that Triple H has shown up. That was about it. And the ending of that match was totally predictable with Paul Ellering in that shark cage. You knew that he was going to drop some sort of object. The chain made sense. One of my closest buddies, Kyle, went with me to NXT TakeOver Toronto. He predicted it as well, too, to a T. But Shane Thorne with a great spot in that match. It didn't quite save it, but it was very entertaining. I've said this openly, match of the year. It was absolutely incredible. DIY taking on the Revival, the two best tag teams in the industry today. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Man, it was great back and forth action. Everybody was on the edge of their seats. And for DIY to finally come out on top, the crowd roared in approval. That's exactly what they wanted. I mean, both of those teams would be a massive hit on the main roster as long as they were booked properly. But man, I mean, the Revival are wizards when it comes to psychology. And as for DIY, they can do virtually anything in the ring that you ask them to do. So big fans of both teams. They over-delivered. And again, I stick by that match of the year. I really don't see any other match surpassing that, at least in the next month. Moving along, Mickie James made an outstanding return against Asuka. She made it competitive, but she still ended up losing the match. But that being said, she gave Asuka her most competitive match to date. Apparently, the door is wide open for Mickie James. She can either, have the one and done, or she could actually stick around if she wants to as well, too. I'm hoping that she sticks around because she proved that she could still hang with the best of the best. And I do believe that Asuka is the best female wrestler in the business today. So I was very impressed with Mickie James. Great approval from the audience as well, too. She looked physically great as well, too. The best I think she's ever looked in the WWE. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe. The only way for them to continue this feud was for Samoa Joe to win, but the crowd was legitimately shocked. I was too. I really thought that no one would ever dethrone Shinsuke Nakamura. Samoa Joe did it. It was vicious. Kicked him in the junk in order to do it, but nevertheless, they need to extend that feud. That was very important. And in fact, that is what was being reported by the Wrestling Observer, that if Shinsuke Nakamura had won that match, unfortunately, that was basically the end of the feud. How much further could it actually go? So they're actually going to be fighting again in Japan and Melbourne, Australia. That's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. One of them is going to take place in a cage match. So NXT TakeOver Toronto, arguably one of the best shows I've ever attended live. It was nearly a sold-out crowd. There were some empty seats, but a packed house at the Air Canada Centre. Moving along to Raw, because of course I was not there in person for Survivor Series. I watched it from the comfort of my own living room. Bill Goldberg, they were chanting his name all night long. He opened the show. He had a great entrance. I'm not the biggest Bill Goldberg fan, but you know what? Even I was looking forward to seeing him after that shocking ending that nobody predicted, by the way. So he showed up and he announced that he will take part in the 2017 Royal Rumble matchup. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. He didn't even mention Brock Lesnar's name, which was a little bit shocking to me. He went out there, obviously made his intentions clear that he is going to be participating in the Royal Rumble. He's going to stick around for a while and perhaps even have one more title reign left in him. I did not enjoy the tag team matchup with Cesaro, Sheamus taking on The New Day. The New Day just barely squeaked by. There's Golden Truth versus Luke Gallows and Anderson. We had the bizarre Enzo Amore backstage segment where he was running around buck naked. Lana saw him, and then he went out and got squashed by Rusev. But the crowd definitely ate up Enzo Amore and Big Cass, right? In the highlight reel, Chris Jericho is more over than anybody else in Toronto. They love him. Fellow Canadian, but most importantly, he's one of the best in the world at what he does, right? And going out there and swerving us, because I was actually thinking, are they going to do the breakup? Are they going to fully commit to it? Will they tease it? They swerved us. You know whose fault it is? Roman Reigns, and they hug it out. Great acting in that segment from not only Kevin Owens, but Chris Jericho, both on their A game. Sami Zayn, he got beat down. I did not really enjoy that segment. And of course, the final match of the evening, actually before skipping over that, we had Sasha Banks come down. We had Charlotte come down. That was not the greatest tag team match in the world, but the crowd absolutely loved Sasha Banks and Bayley. And Charlotte, definitely one of the top heels on the main roster. Everybody was booing her out of the building. Of course, we had two matches for the Cruiserweight division as well, too. Cedric Alexander, who I believe is a future star. Fantastic. And of course, as well, too, we had TJ Perkins coming up just a little bit short against Rich Swann, who I also love. I think that he's a great individual to go up against the Brian Kendrick for that Cruiserweight Championship. So really looking forward to that match coming up. I believe it'll be next week on 205 Live. And that main event, wow. I mean, they gave that away on Raw. It was Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. They fought in the audience. Seth Rollins put it on a clinic, and then Kevin Owens eventually getting the win with the help of Chris Jericho wearing a Sin Cara mask in the audience. He claims, hey, no disrespect to him, but I think that was hilarious. So an absolutely phenomenal match to close out really what was truly just a great weekend overall. So hopefully you had an opportunity to watch all three shows, or at least attend them in person. Now, what else was really neat was that I actually stayed at a hotel. I won't tell you the name, but it was by the Air Canada Centre both times. Bumped into so many wrestlers. Now, here's the thing. I could tell you all the people that we met. I mean, we saw Shane McMahon, Brian Kendrick was hanging out, Pat Patterson, Bray Wyatt. We saw Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Bayley. You name them, and they were there, right? But here's the thing. I did not bother them for photos. I did not bother them for autographs. Simply saying hello or just kind of being nearby is good enough for me. Fortunately, I've got to interview some celebrities in the world of radio, and you know what? I just genuinely feel bad bothering them. So even if you're in an elevator with Bob Backlund like we were, you just let it be and just go from there. So overall, again, an absolutely fantastic weekend. Normally, I do cover pro wrestling news and rumors, but I wanted to give you my feedback live from, of course, the Air Canada Centre and NXT TakeOver Toronto. So that will do it for another edition of A View from the Top. A little unconventional this week, but I wanted to give you a real dose of that live experience. If you haven't seen the WWE in person, you are missing out, especially NXT.